Hi, thanks a lot for joining the eProject Builder Advanced Training webinar. We've generally asked folks to take the introductory trainings, but we often find that people have not. So this webinar will combine some introductory material with kind of some of the more advanced features. Shankar, why don't you join me on camera here? We'll introduce ourselves. I'm Liz Stewart, Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I've been at the lab for 16 years, and I've been managing eProject Builder for the last several years. And I'm actually retiring, so this is my last training webinar, probably. But Shankar Ernie has also been on eProject Builder since its inception. And Shankar, why don't you give a quick intro?
Sure, thanks, Liz. Yeah, I'm Shankar Ernie, been with the lab for like 12 years or so. I have a ESPC background. I used to work for UNESCO developing projects, implementing, and did some M&V work as well. Yeah, I've been, as Liz said, I've been with this team since the beginning. So thanks for joining us today.
Right, thanks. All right, so for today, we're going to run through some slides just to give you an overview, and those slides will be available. They're a little more complete than usual, just so it's kind of a standalone thing. Then we're going to do a live demo of the eProject Builder template and some of the online systems. So first, just a quick overview. You may or may not know, probably you're all somewhat familiar with it. It's a free tool. It's an online tool, web-based, secure, maintained by LBNL, Berkeley Lab for U.S. Department of Energy. And what you may not know, if you're familiar with it, is that there are actually two pathways to using the system. One is we call eProject Builder, which is the full-featured, many fields, multiple page data template. It's got ECM level information, a lot of details that particularly federal agencies want to track, but also some state and local agencies. But we created, a few years ago, we created eProject Express, which is a more streamlined set of data fields. It's all the same database, but if you want to create an eProject Express project, you would use a different template, and it's got a smaller set of fields. So it's more streamlined, and that was designed with a lot of input from state MUSH, we call it MUSH market, state and local users. So just as an overview, the eProject Builder and eProject Express system enables project owners and their contractors to preserve and track their project and, in some cases, ECM data and documents. And we'll talk about that in perpetuity. So if there are staff changes, it's there in the system. You can develop projects and scenarios using standardized calculations. This is for the eProject Builder side of things. It outputs a lot of different kinds of things. Once your information's in the database, there are custom reports, preset reports, M&V reports, various kinds of reports that you can do. There's also an ECM price benchmarking tool that will show you, and then you can export raw data to just conduct your own analysis on your own portfolio of projects if you wish, once you have some projects in there. So why eProject Builder? Clearly, data is power, as we all know. And so having your project's data in a central location where it doesn't go away, it institutionalizes your organization's ability to collect, report on individual project and your program impacts. Helps you respond to information requests, both on the customer side of things, and ESCOs have said that they like eProject Builder for the way it lets them, have all the data at their fingertips. It helps them deal with customer information requests more quickly, things like that. So that helps both the customer and the ESCO demonstrate the value of those projects and programs. In some cases, it can really help you with fulfillment of reporting requirements, particularly in the federal sector, or even, a state agency to the state legislature. You can use it to see where work has been done and where remaining potential exists. As you develop a portfolio of projects, you can see which, sites have been addressed and which have not, what measures you've implemented. And then using it to track your measurement and verification results, You enter those annual results, and then the data are available over time. So you can see, how are my projects tracking against the guarantee? So it helps you identify the persistence of achieved savings year over year. And so bringing those benefits of data together with eProject Builder, ePB is a system. It's free. It's a centralized database that puts that power of data management to work for you. So as I mentioned briefly, it preserves critical project data in perpetuity, even when you have staff turnover. A really important piece is it provides like a standardized database, right? Like the types of data that go into it are standardized, so that across ESCOs, across organizations, say within a state, or if you're, a state agency working with school districts, or you're a federal government working in different facilities, across different ESCOs, you'll have kind of the same set of data for your projects. It's not every piece of information about an ESPC or other type of project, but it's key summary financial savings and characteristics data that is incredibly helpful to hang on to. And of course, standardization of data helps, with robust analysis. And eProject Builder does accommodate a wide variety of project types, including UESC, ESPC, direct funded, the Federal Energy Sales Agreement that combines sort of a PPA with an ESPC design build. And the idea here is to have the ESCO be the main one, or the contractor be the main one responsible for entering the data in the system, and then the customer or project owner gets to review that and see if that project information coincides with what they're seeing in the contract itself. So just a brief review of the overview of the eProject Builder roles. The typical sort of roles in a project is there's the project owner or customer. Typically, they will be the one to initiate a project into the online system. And then there is the contractor or the ESCO, and they are typically the one responsible for uploading, ingesting the data, and then submitting it for customer review. There's a third party, other, and so there are people that can be given access to view project data online by either the project initiator or project builder, but they cannot upload or approve or any of those kind of data. So the project owner registers, initiates the project, which is very quick. We'll show you that. Reviews the project data once it's been submitted by the ESCO, approves. If there's any modification needed, the project owner is the one that unlocks it for revision, and then they also review and approve the M&V data. So on the other side of that, the ESCO or the other kind of contractor is the one that, once the project's initiated in the system, uploads and enters the data. They can review the project data. Maybe you're working at a 30% IGA review, a 60% IGA review. The ESCO could upload that data to eProject Builder, generate the task order schedules, share those with the customer, discuss, or you can work offline with the data template, and we'll talk about that briefly as well. Then the contractor also uploads M&V data and submits that. And both of these two roles can then invite third-party project viewers to have view-only access to their approved projects. Conceptually, eProject Builder, eProject Express is simple. Two key system components. There's the Excel-based data templates. There's one for project data and then one for M&V data to upload to the system, and then the online system where there's a relational database from which you can pull information out, do analysis, track. And then, of course, in addition to that, there's the online system for storing documents if you choose to do that. It's a highly secure site. We've been not only using National Lab Security, but the eProject Builder team has its own white hat cybersecurity expert who also does testing, identifies any new and emerging vulnerabilities, and then we address those very quickly. And as I mentioned, we're going to go briefly through some slides that just show you little pictures of the online system that we will demonstrate later. So there's kind of this online digital filing cabinet for each project that accepts different types of document types. We'll talk about that in a bit. And now Shankar is going to give a brief overview of the template, which we will later demonstrate visually. The Excel-based data template that you use to upload data to the system. Go ahead, Shankar, if you want to.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. As Liz mentioned, there are two. One of the primary ways to get data into the ePB system is through this data template. The two types of templates. One is we call it calculating template, and the other one is a non-calculating template. The calculating template has the standardized calculation methodology that's been vetted with all the stakeholders. So it's a way to make sure that the calculations that are being performed are following the standard methodology. So there's a calculating template and a non-calculating template. Within the templates, there are cells that are shaded yellow, which means that these are the fields where you can enter data, and the gray cells are where the fields are calculated. So this template is supposed to be a kind of a standalone thing. So it does calculations on its own that you can use to run different scenarios and try to see what the implications of various factors are on the cash flow. The template itself has different tabs. Each is intended to capture certain aspects of the project, depending on your type of projects. As Liz mentioned, initially this template or the system was intended to focus on ESPC. Since then, we kind of branched out to other types of projects. Different projects have different requirements or different schedules. At the highest level, there's the summary schedule, which captures the high-level information, the escalation rates. Schedule 1 shows you the cost savings and payments. 2A is intended to capture the costs related to each of the ECM. Schedule 3 is performance period cash flow, which is basically the recurring expenses. 4 is where we capture the savings associated with the project, and the 5 is the cancellation saving. Again, this at a high level. And then we're going to get into the actual demonstration side of things. Liz, can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
So this is the summary schedule, as the name indicates. This is the high-level summary of your project. It has these different subcategories of fields. Contact information. This is where you specify your contact details for both the ESCO, the contractor, the customer, and then the financing and the financier information. But before you start on that, the one key piece of information that's needed to get the project going is this project agreement type. So there are different project agreement types. Again, there are ESPCs, there's UESCs, energy sales agreements, which are kind of a different type of ESPCs. And you can also accommodate direct funded project, as you can see from the drop-down menu. Again, there's contact information, project identification and characteristics, what type of what name of the project, any identification, agency, and things like that. And there's costs and financials. So that's where you capture the interest rate. And then there's the we call it project capitalization. This kind of describes your capital stack in terms of what is being financed, what is being obtained from the agency or the customer as a buy down. And then there is a project financial summary at the very bottom that shows the high level costs and savings. And there's this thing called template errors and warnings. That's where if the things are not complying to the standards, it kind of throws some errors, and then you might have to fix the errors before you move on. So that's kind of the summary schedule. On the next slide, this is where we capture the escalation rates. So since the savings are coming from different streams, there's the savings have to be escalated at different level. The resources have to be escalated at different level. There's electricity energy, obviously the kWh that's being saved, the demand aspect, demand associated with the energy, and there's natural gas, and then there is other one and other two. These are the thermal things. Uh, if you have other savings apart from energy, electricity, and natural gas, you can kind of select the right one from this drop down and then assign an escalation rates for those resources. And in addition to those, there's water and there's wastewater, which is not included here, sewer, O&M operating and maintenance. And if you have other non-energy benefits or savings, you can include those as well from an escalation standpoint. And if you have if you need some guidance, the FAM put out this document that tells you how to escalate your different resources. And ESPC projects, they recommend using the NIST calculator, for which we have a link listed on the side. Schedule 1, this is where it all the stuff kind of comes together. This shows the estimated and annual annual cost savings from the project in total, and the guaranteed annual cost savings, which is a portion of the estimated cost savings, and the payments that you incur as a result of this project. And the net difference between cost savings and the payments results in your savings retained by the customer. We can get into that some more, but that's how this is structured. This is where when the template performs all the calculations, this is where all the output flows into.
Right. And I'll just point out that the yellow cells are the ones that take input, and the gray ones do automatic calculation in the calculating version of the template.
And the other thing is, this is just the calculating template, and there's another version that's non-calculating. So this is Schedule 2A. This is where you list all your ECMs associated with the project, and then you include the costs associated with those projects. So there are I think we have entries for 250 ECMs.
Oops, sorry.
So we ask for a technology category. We categorize the technologies or ECMs into 20 different categories. So you select the category which is a required field, and they specify the ECM number in the description, and then the cost of goods and services, which is basically your hard costs associated with the project, the subcontractor costs, your costs. And then there is the project implementation delivery charge. This is where you specify your soft costs. This is basically your design costs, project management costs, M&V costs, things like that. This is the M&V cost for the upfront M&V cost. And then there is the applied incentives, any incentives that are associated with the ECM. And based on the information you enter in these yellow cells, the information on the far right under implementation price that gets calculated. And you can also specify the location where the CCM has been implemented. And you can also specify the size. For example, if it's a boiler, you can specify the horsepower, chiller tonnage, if it's lighting, number of lights, and things like that. So this information gets used when we try to benchmark the data. So that's Schedule 2A. Schedule 2A focuses on the initial cost of the CapEx cost, if you will, and Schedule 3 focuses on the recurring operating expenses associated with the project. So this is where you list your annual O&M expenses, operating and maintenance expenses, again, M&V expenses. These are different than what you saw previously. These are the M&V costs that keep incurring to ensure that the performance from these projects is being realized. So this is, and then you can also list any incentives that you might expect during your performance period, any ITC, things like that. And also the debt service that includes the principal and also the interest from the debt that you incur from this project. So Schedule 4 is where you capture the savings from these projects. So again, you list the different ECMs that are in your project, and now you list the savings. So this tab, this schedule has two pieces of information. One is the baseline associated with the ECM. This is where you're telling what the energy consumption would have been in the absence of the ECM, and then you specify what the savings are if this ECM were to be implemented. So this is captured at the bottom table. It shows the savings. The top, it's a long elongated schedule, so we try to we broke it down into two pieces. For the top part is the baseline, predominantly the baseline portion. The bottom part talks about captures the savings. And as you see, there are some gray cells on the far left on the top table. This is where the information that you already entered on Schedule 2A gets collected here and gets put back here. And then you also capture the MNV option associated with the CCM option A, B, C, and D. That's their IPMVP options. So Schedule 5 is where you specify, this is what we call it cancellation ceilings. Again, this is required for federal ESPC and UESC projects. What essentially this does is it tells you if at all you need to, if you need to terminate the project, how much would you incur to terminate this. So this includes the remaining principal and any additional charges that you might incur for termination. That's what this intended to capture. So in addition to, that's the way to ingest data into ePB. So once you ingest the data into the system ePB system, online system, can generate the PDFs, your task order schedules or price schedules, and that you can include in your proposals, and then the project owners or customers can review these offline versions and compare. Offline meaning the ones that are included in your proposal to the ones that include on the system, to make sure that they kind of are in agreement. That's the proposal side of things. In addition, once you have a proposal or the proposal data into the system, in the system, you can track how well those projects are performing by looking at the annual MNV report. So you enter your annual MNV report, annual MNV data, and then it spits out an annual MNV report. So that tells you how well the project is performing during that 1 year. Along with that, we have another report called Cumulative MNV Summary Report, which shows you the overall performance till date, as to how the project is performing. So that's captured here as well. And the other, going back to what Liz said, because you have all this data, you can analyze this data, slice and dice it in however you want, and generate these custom reports that might be useful for you as you go through this process. So that's one of the beauty of this, because you have the data, you can generate these custom reports. Another thing that we do as part of ePB is we analyze all this data, strip out all the personal information and project specific information, and we developed this ECM price benchmarking tool, which essentially asks you some key pieces of information about your ECM and tries to show where you are in the distribution. So it compares your price with what we have in our database to show whether you're high or low, so that you know whether you're paying higher, whether whatever price that's being quoted for you is within reasonable range. And the other thing that you can do is you can download this data into a standard Excel format, and then you can do your own analysis, which is something that might be done. So this is the MNV report. Again, there are two MNV reports that we generate. One on the left is basically a version of our Schedule 4. The version Schedule 4 it shows the actual, it shows the estimated cost savings. So with this annual report, it shows you the annual verified savings. So again, it has the ECM number and the option, M&V option, and documents each ECM in terms of its energy savings, water savings, whatever savings that were part of the proposal. It shows what the verified numbers are for those. In addition to that annual report, it also shows where you are in terms of the overall project. So you have, again, this is a version of Schedule 1. You have estimated cost savings, guaranteed cost savings. In addition to that, you have this new column that shows the actual verified savings. And then you can compute the variance between what was actually guaranteed versus what was realized. And then you have your whether you that way you know whether the project is performing up to the par or not. So
That's
this is, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say eProject Express has similar reports. The main difference is the annual M&V report summary on the left is just a one pager because there's so many fewer fields. The eProject Builder annual report is multiple pages for multiple amounts of information. I'll just move on from there.
Yeah, this is the analysis and reporting module. Again, for all the projects you have, you can again analyze all the data that you entered into the database and try to generate different reports and graphs and other things that might interest you. So in this case, it's a simple report where you're looking at all the projects when they were executed and shows the performance period and along with the guaranteed cost savings for those projects and the total implementation price.
Right. It's the portfolio report or analysis and reporting is pretty bottomless, and not every analysis attempt works because there's just so many different fields you can kind of crisscross with each other. But it's a lot of fun if you like playing around with reports.
This is another cool thing that we do with the data. Again, this is the data that we collect, and we strip out all the key pieces of any information that's related specific to the customer or the ASCO, and we try to use that data to develop develop this benchmarking. So in this example, we do this for 5 different DCM tech categories: lighting, BAS, boiler plant, chiller plant improvements, wastewater conservation. So this is where you enter your savings. In this case, it's a lighting example. You enter your lighting ECM and saying how much savings you're expecting from that lighting ECM. In this case, it's 4.2 million kWh. And you enter your implementation price that was quoted by your ASCO or contractor, 3.03 million, and it shows where you are in the distribution. The purple dot is where you are, and based on the data, the orange is where you would expect based on the expected value. So it shows you the distribution. That way you're confident that whatever price you're getting is reasonable and it's not too high. So that's the intent of this tool.
All right. So we're going to roll into our live demonstration here in a second, but if you are not already registered and you want to use eProject Builder, you simply go to the main site, which is eprojectbuilder.lbl.gov, and request an account. It's probably pretty tiny on the screen there, but underneath the login button, there's a request an account link. And it leads you to a registration page that asks you for your name, your information, etc. And it also asks you, do you want an account on the main site and or the test site? And the test site is basically a clone of the main site, but if you get an account on the test site, you get sort of 2 accounts so that you can kind of play the project initiator and project builder role and do that kind of back and forth thing if you want to check that out. So when you register, you can ask for an account on the main site and or the test site. So for our live demo, we're first going to look at the online system for a bit and look at the portfolio and dashboard functions. Then we're going to dive a little bit more deeply into the data template, particularly on how to use it for UESC, ESPC, ESA, that's the Federal Energy Sales Agreement, and then direct funded projects. Then we're going to show you how to use the M&V module and how to get the M&V reports. We'll demonstrate the analysis and reporting feature, and we will also review the price benchmarking tool. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second so I can get ready to go into the demo. In the meantime, feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and log into eProject Builder here.
Liz, your camera is not on. Is that
Okay, yeah, I'll share in just a second. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and just show you a little bit for the folks that are not familiar or have not logged in before. Okay. All right, can you see? Oh, it's taking a second. Can you see the eProject Builder screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, my computer's kind of slow. All right, so I am logging in with my quote unquote customer account. So when we talk about the different roles in a project, there's also different types of accounts that you can get in eProject Builder. There's very little difference, but you can get an ESCO account. So if you are a contractor and you're going to be, and let me turn my camera back on so you can see me there too. When you're a contractor, you'll be uploading the data, and you also may be applying for DOE qualified list or NAESCO accreditation. So if you sign up for, or if you need to be an accredited ESCO, if you plan to be ingesting, uploading data, then you should request an ESCO type account. If you are only going to be project owner, customer, you're not going to be applying for accreditation with NAESCO or DOE qualified list, you would request a customer account. There's a third type of account that we call basically just other, and those are folks that can have an account that are not going to initiate projects like a customer or owner. They're not going to upload data, but they're going to be a third-party observer, so you can ask for an other type account as well. I see some questions in the chat. Oh, thanks, Shankar. Thanks for answering. Yeah, we'll talk about Portfolio Manager in a bit. All right, so let me go ahead and log in here. Okay, and when I log in, it asks me for a verification code. So I need to go to my email address and get the verification code. And it usually takes a few seconds. Make sure I logged in as the right thing. All right, of course it's taking longer than usual. There we go, okay. All right, so it sends a little, and I just double click on that highlighted verification code, and I then copy it into here, and I just click verify. Great. So it's logged me in. And for those who aren't familiar, I'll briefly show you this. In the upper right-hand corner, there's this ePB menu versus EPX menu. So the first time you log in, create an account and log in, you will be given a choice. Do you kind of want to use eProject Builder more or eProject Express more? And you choose, and then you're shown the appropriate menu each time you log in after that. However, you are not limited to one or the other. You might be a state agency. In fact, we do have some state agencies that like using eProject Builder in some projects because they want all the ECM level data, and then they use eProject Express on some simpler projects. So you can always access both over here on the right. So I'm going to show you If you're new and you just are getting started and you want to initiate a project, it's super quick. So I'm going to just click initiate a new project right here. And I click new project, and we're just going to call it May 2025 demo. And I already entered one. Okay, and let's just make it a federal. I'll show you a couple little things though. If it's a state and local government, you choose the market segment. You also choose the submarket. Is it a municipality, a state agency, etc.? If we choose federal government, you choose the federal contract type. So that way, if you've got different kinds of projects, it's in the database as that kind of project. It's another way you can slice and dice your data. So let's just pretend this is an IDIQ project, and I'm just going to take a wild guess on, well, let's do Berkeley zip code. And I'm logged in as, this is my personal email, estewart@presidiomba.org. I'm actually going to name, let's say the customer owner, I'm going to name a different entity, my ESCO. So I have to enter my ESCO's email address. They have to already be registered. So if I said joe@joe.com and I try and add them, it says there's nobody registered by that name. So I have to enter. So if you're starting a project, you need to make sure that both points of contact are registered. So I'm going to use my lab email as my ESCO account and create this project. All right, now it has automatically taken me to what we call the portfolio page. Another way you can get to the portfolio page is by clicking the portfolio link here that's near the upper left. And there's the May 2025 demo. And you can see I've got a few projects in here. These are all test projects. Just want to show you a couple things about the portfolio page. It's a nice list of what your projects are. It shows you, very importantly, this status row here. What status is the project in? I've got a couple that are pending, couple that are, one that's approved and one that's pre-approved. So what do those mean? Pending means that the project has just been entered by me. It's waiting data, or at least if it has data, it has not yet been submitted by the contractor or ESCO or project builder. This one here that's in pre-approval status has indeed been submitted by the ESCO or other kind of contractor, and it's waiting for me to approve. And then this one is approved status. And what happens when a project is approved in eProject Builder system, first it sends automated emails, like when a project's initiated or approved or submitted, sends automated emails to the ESCO, the customer, to let them know something's happening. It archives the schedules. So once it's approved, all the data is like frozen into a PDF at the time it's approved and archived in the system. We'll show you that in a little bit. So you have, if you go through modifications, you have an ongoing record of the changes that are made to your project in eProject Builder. And what also happens when a project is approved is that the M&V module is unlocked. So once the project's initial final proposal data is in there, whatever time that happens, it might be happening during construction, might be at the end of construction. Maybe you wait until, the construction is complete and the project is accepted. And you're like, okay, this is our final project. We'll put it in eProject Builder now, submit it, and put it in there so it's ready for M&V. And the M&V period, of course, includes post-installation verification. So if you want to track your M&V in eProject Builder, you'll want to get your project in and approved in order to do your upload your post-installation verification information. So this project here is in pre-approval status, this bottom one here. So I'm the customer and I say, oh, great, my ESCO's entered the data. I can look at it. I can review it. I can view the financial schedules, or I can approve the project. So this next steps button in the middle gives us kind of key next steps, but that's not all we can do because we've got a whole menu of things we can do on the left-hand side. So we can view the project data online. We won't go too much into that. There's other materials that go into that, but We've got a whole series of online fields that you can look at it. We can look at the financial schedules. So this is basically a summary of the data that's in there, that was uploaded from the template, the escalation rates tab, Schedule 1, Schedule 2A, etc. And what we can also do is download the summary schedule as a PDF. If we want to, we can save that to our hard drive, and you can just see how that, let's see, let me go ahead and save it into our little folder here, our advanced webinar folder. So we can just save a PDF snapshot of our financial schedules. And let's say I'm reviewing it with my ESCO, my team, etc. It all looks good. I'm ready to approve the project. So I can either click Approve Project here in the upper left, or I can go back to my dashboard and click it here and just click the Approve Project button here. So I'm going to do that. So what you'll see right now is on the dashboard, it says it's in pre-approval status. Now I'm going to click Approve Project, and it is going to take a second, and it is now approved. So now if I go back to my portfolio page, we'll see that this demo project 1 August 2023 is now in approved status, and the M&V status now shows as pending. So it's ready for the ESCO to add data. So I'm going to log out as a customer and log in as an ESCO so you can see some other aspects here. Thanks, Shankar, for answering. I see some questions coming in through the chat. So thank you for answering those. All right, and you can see in my email, we've got project list demo, project approved. Project May 2025 demo has been initiated. So every time something happens on a project, the project initiator and project builder get an email notification. And the other things that are cool that email notifies is when M&V reports are due. When you upload the M&V template, which we'll talk about, you can enter when the M&V due date is, and there will be email notifications about that as well. So let me verify my account. Hopefully, did I do that right? No, wrong one. Let's get the right one in there. Right, so now I'm the ESCO. I have a lot more projects, test projects in my quote unquote ESCO account. So I do want to just show you a few things for a project that has a lot of information. So again, we'll return to this left side. I've clicked on the dashboard. So one thing that's in here is the schedule archive. So as I mentioned, every time a project is approved, it gets archived. There's a PDF here that is archiving your schedules, and it's basically a PDF of these financial schedules. So if you have to modify and unlock your project, it'll save a whole string of these schedules, however many times they get reapproved. Then there's this project documents page. So this is pretty cool where you can upload files. Right now, it's just a basic sort of single filing cabinet. But if folks really start to use this more, some folks use it quite a lot, and other folks just keep things on their Google Drive or whatever on their own computer or system. But you know, there's the possibility that we could build this into a more robust file system. But for now, you can put zip files, doc files, Excel files, whatever, construction photos, IGA meeting minutes, etc. Another thing here is manage participants here on the left side. This shows you who are the folks that are participating in your project. Now, right here, in this example, you can see that I, Liz E. Stewart at lbl.gov, am the project initiator, PI, and the project builder, because for this demo project, this one in particular, it was another one that I did earlier. When I initiated it, I named myself as the project builder. So you can do that. So let's say you're a state agency and you want to enter a bunch of projects and upload your own data. You don't want to have to deal with the ESCO because you've got a lot of projects you want to track and you already have your own data. You can initiate and upload the projects yourself. Or for ESCOs that are entering projects for accreditation, they do the same thing. They initiate projects and they upload their own data. And let's see, I think, oh yeah, I did want to show you one more thing here. Project type here, ePB and ePX. So we've got ePX projects in here. They've got fewer data fields. And ePX has kind of a cool little extra feature in the project documents, because in the state and local markets, they don't necessarily have as standard a way of collecting documentations, things like that. So we actually added a cool little file checklist. So when you go in the documents and click this little arrow, it's just a list of recommended documents that you collect and keep either here on the system or somewhere. So I think that's it for now. And I'm going to bring up the template. And Shankar, I am going to hand it over to you to walk through our template in a little bit more detail. Right now, I've got this one set to guaranteed savings, but you're going to walk us through the ESA, and I'll also talk about UESC.
Yeah. And can you show where they can get a copy of this template list real
Oh,
quick?
good idea. So if you're already logged in, you can download the data template here. Even if you're on the portfolio page, you can always download a data template, or you don't even have to have an account. You don't even have to log in. You can go to our help and documentation page, and the data templates are under here for eProject Builder and eProject Express. They're under here. So you don't even need an account. You can come to our help page and just check out all the training and informational videos and features, training documentation, check out the templates, things like that. Thanks for that reminder, Shankar.
Awesome. So, I know we talked about template at a high level in the presentation, but this is where we want to get into some of the details. Again, this is a template with some sample data that we put in. This is a project. This is an ESPC guaranteed savings project. Again, this is the high level project contact information on the first few rows, 6 through 11. And then there's a project identification where you enter details related to the project, like contract number, task order, agency, things like that. Financing terms, assuming this is it's a guaranteed savings project, it's a finance project. This is where you enter your interest rate. Interest rate comes from two different components. One is the index rate, that's benchmarked against, and then there's the premium, added premium, right? So in this case, it's 4%, 2.4% from the index rate, and 1.6 from the premium. So this is benchmarked against US Treasury. That's what the index is indexed with. And then
These are some old interest rates.
right, right. That's and then you enter your financing rate. That's also one of the pieces of information that gets collected. And then this project award date. Yeah, I think the award date is before the financing date. Again, this is some numbers that we made. Some of these may not make sense. Uh, and then the other thing that you can specify is the payment timing. That's very important. It tells you how the interest is being computed. In this case, it's a biannual payment timing, and it's you can select either you want to pay in the beginning or the end. So there are different combinations. There are four different frequencies: annual, biannual, quarter, and monthly. And then you can set it to either beginning or ending when you want to pay the payment. The other key piece of information is guaranteed savings. This is where you have your estimated savings, and then that guarantee gets applied to figure out what the guaranteed savings are. Again, this is for the entire project.
And also these fields that are in red text with an asterisk we mentioned earlier are required. Most of them are required just to make the amortization calculations work. So if something is missing in some of these, the amortization won't work and there'll be an error down here for the calculating template.
Yep. The project characteristics that you see in columns F through G. This is where you specify the buildings in your project and what's the total square footage affected by the project, and also total energy consumption, baseline energy consumption that's affected. That's part of this project. Implementation period, how long does it take to implement the project? And then you can also specify the MNV version that you're using to conduct the MNV. And then there's the project capitalization. This is where you can specify if there are any buy downs, also financing, procurement, construction, financing, procurement price. And then there is the bonded amount. How much are you bonding against? Performance. When does the performance period start? In the bottom there, financial project financial summary. This is all based on calculations. So all this information is being collected from other schedules. But in order to get that populated, you need all the tabs completed.
Right. Escalation rates tab. The next
Escalation,
one.
right. So this is, again, the savings might be coming from different sources, right? It might be electricity, natural gas, or it might be propane, jet fuel, whatever you might have. You can document the escalation rates here. So these are the ones that get used to run the cash flow numbers, to calculate the cash flow that you see on Schedule 1. Again, we have 20, 40 years that we can accommodate in terms of escalation rates. And at the very bottom, I forgot to mention, at the very bottom, if you have any specific notes that you want to add to better explain your rationale about choosing one escalation rate over the other, you can add it here.
Right. You want to go to Schedule 2A
Schedule
next?
2. Yep.
Okay, we're
Schedule
going to
2A.
jump Schedule 1 because Schedule 1 is kind of the culmination of other schedules. So we'll jump to Schedule 2A. And these other
More.
coded Schedule 1s we'll talk about in a minute.
So the Schedule 2A, again, this is where you're documenting the upfront capital required for these projects, right? In this case, there are 5 different ECMs. You specify the technology category, HVAC, chiller plant improvement. So you can, again, there are 20 different categories that we provide. And then you specify the ECM number, then the ECM description, which is a required field to be considered as an ECM. ECM size, it will tell you, this is an indication of how big this is, or how big this ECM is. For lighting, it might be number of lamps, lighting fixtures. For chillers, it might be tonnage. And ECM coverage, this is what percentage of the building or project does this ECM cover. So if you have a 100,000 square feet building and this only covers like 50,000, so 40,000 square feet, it's 40%. That's how we intended to capture that information. And then we know these ECMs of these projects cut across multiple facilities. So if that ECM is associated with more than one facilities, you can kind of include that in the comma separated values there in column G. MNV expense is this, again, this is upfront MNV expense that you have for that ECM. Cost of goods and services, these are like hard costs related to actual material, construction, things like that, labor, things like that. Project implementation delivery charges is where you capture the soft cost design, project management, bonding, and things like that.
And
applied
overhead and profit.
overhead and profit.
Right.
And then there's applied incentives. If you have any specific incentives that you can associate with each ECM, you can document it here, and everything gets calc, everything gets rolled up into that total that you see on that in that column.
Right. And at the
L,
top here is anything not ECM specific that you might be paying for.
it's IGA costs
Yeah.
specifically.
Yep. And everything gets totaled way down at the bottom. I'm scrolling down. Um, and there's some notes in here. One thing I'll add too is that some agencies want to track on a per building level. So eProject Builder and eProject Express, they don't break down at the building level. But let's say you had lighting in building 1, lighting in building 2, lighting in building 3, and you wanted to separate those, you could do that. You could say lighting building 1, you could say location building 1 and just put it there. So um, there's only 250. So if you have a big project, you might not be able to do that for all your ECMs, but that could be useful if you need to track by location as well. All right, do you want to
Yeah,
go
I think
sorry, go
to
ahead,
be
Shankar.
to be quickly.
Oh,
Just,
2B. Okay, this is for
yeah, to
federal IDIQ only.
And if you don't know what's included in that cost of goods and services and that implementation delivery chart, that kind of provides you some guidance. Even though you don't need to use the schedule, this provides you some guidance as to what is included in there and what's not. So the design, project management, performance, and payment bonds and things like that are part of the implementation delivery percentage, into
Right.
implementation delivery charge.
Right. Yeah, it's useful, but you don't have to use it if you're not a federal IDIQ project.
Right.
All right, should I go to Schedule 3 next?
Well, yeah, four, right? Yeah.
Oh, Schedule 4. Okay, let's
Yep.
jump over to Schedule 4. Okay, great.
Schedule 4, now we have the cost for each of these ECMs. Now we need the other side of the equation, which is basically the savings, cost savings. All these cells in columns A through C are it's you already it's being collected from Schedule 2A, so you don't need to enter any of that. All you need to do is specify what option you're using for M&V. And if you have any baseline information for each of these ECMs, you can enter it in cells
E through O, basically.
E through O.
Yeah,
And for each associated baseline number, we are capturing the savings, which is from in cells P through Y, I guess. Yeah,
right. There's first the energy savings, which you capture, and of course, it's the resource and the dollar amount for each demand,
that's how it.
right, et cetera. And then the other ones, these are auto-populated from what we chose in the escalation rate schedule. So it auto-populates there. And then for the energy savings, it's totaled, there's a subtotal here, both the energy and it all converts to MMBTU, even the kilowatt hours. And then the energy cost savings. And then there's another section here for the non-energy. So water, wastewater, O&M. And if there are other non-energy like pollution costs, things like that. That's all brought over here. And then
And you get your implementation price from Schedule 2A.
right, and then it calculates the simple payback. And then at the very bottom again, we scroll down and we get our overall cost savings price and then the simple payback time. Yeah, that's Schedule
So
4.
yeah, the one thing to keep in mind is we collect these energy savings, the actual savings in MMBTUs. So for most of the things, so everything gets yeah. So if you have, for example, fuel oil in gallons, you have to convert it into MMBTU. And we provide some guidance at the bottom of the sheet on how to do it or what. Do we do that? I think we do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just energy conversion factors, etc. Great. Now Schedule 3.
Schedule 3. Yep. So now we have the cost information, upfront cost information, and then we have the savings. The other key piece of information is what does it take to maintain this project, right? That's one thing. And also the debt service payments, the principal that you have to pay that you have to pay along with the interest. So there's two categories, subcategories of fields: debt service and the performance period. So the debt service includes, again, principal and interest. And also there is this another thing that we capture here is any incentives. For example, you might be getting some incentives in year 3 or year 4 that you want to capture. So that's this column, row 6 is intended to capture that information. So that's again, there are upfront incentives that you can document on Schedule 2A, but if you are expecting any incentives that are going to come in later in the performance period, you can use this sheet to document that. And the other thing you see on Schedule 7, row 7, is dollar savings retained by the customer. They are defaulted to 1 because that's what the federal ESPC or IDIQ calls for. This is basically the difference between the guaranteed cost savings and the payments. So you want to make sure that you pay down this debt as quickly as possible. That way you're lowering your interest rates. So that's the reason we set it to 1. But if you say I want to keep $1,000 or $10,000, $1 million, whatever it is, you can add it, right? So that's you can add it here, and so factor that into the calculations, and this gets reflected on Schedule 1. Is there anything on Schedule 1 we need to cover? On the performance period expenses, again, these are different expenses that you incurred every year during the performance period. Like, what does it take to operate and maintain that chiller that you installed? What does it take to do a measurement and verification? If there are any repair and replacement costs that you're factoring into the cash flow. And then there are other things that you can account for using this dropdown: permits and licenses. If there are taxes, I think somebody asked for taxes the other day. And then you can have a delivery percentage, which is basically intended to capture any markup or profit that you want to include it here. Again, everything gets totaled at the bottom, and this gets used in the cash flow to compute the cash flow on Schedule 1.
Here's Schedule 1.
So Schedule 1. So the first column is, again, the annual estimated cost savings. These are coming straight from your Schedule 4. And then you apply your guarantee percentage, you get your guarantee cost savings. And based on what you selected for the dollars retained by the customer, that gets factored in. And then it computes the rest of the payment stream for the performance period.
And you do
And
need to
then
fill in the year 0. Even if it's 0, there's got to be something in here.
Right. And the other thing is, if you are expecting a buy down, or from the customer said, I have $100,000 that I can bring to the table, you can enter it in these 6.
Great. All right.
Any questions? Maybe you
Yeah.
want to, yeah. Bill, you said you have a question. Are you good? That's Schedule 2A? Good.
Great. So I did want
I
to
am all
point out.
good. Thank you. I was trying to unmute. Thank you.
Great. All right. So this is set up for an ESPC, and we've got this clever color coding here. So as Shankar mentioned earlier, the project agreement type is a key field that you must really complete before anything else is going to make sense. So that was for guaranteed savings. It's orange, and you can see down here the Schedule 1 is color-coded orange. Now, if we decide that this is a UESC, some things change in the template. I'll do UESC really quick, Shankar, and then let you do ESA.
Okay.
So if I choose UESC, a few things change. For example, I'll just show you right now, guaranteed savings. Instead of contractor and finance specialist, and these were all requested by the federal UESC team. Those changed to utility and primary FM contract because UESC is a federal model. And down here, instead of percent save, or instead of percent savings guaranteed, we call it percent savings devoted to payment because in UESC, they don't necessarily have a guarantee. And then we jump over, then we find that our orange Schedule 1 is grayed out, and instead we use this purple Schedule 1U. Very similar to Schedule 1, except there's no guaranteed savings column. It's got your estimated cost savings, your annual payments, and your annual dollar savings retained. And that calculates as well for you, depending on other inputs in the template. So just a few little things change here if you're doing UESC. And this is specifically for federal UESC projects. I don't think too many states are using UESC yet. So if we go back to our summary schedule, we're going to change this to ESA, Federal Energy Sales Agreement. So Shankar, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this for a second. And we see a little message comes up here.
Right. So ESAs, energy sales agreements, are as Liz pointed out, these are PPAs within an broader ESPC. So these are, so you have your traditional set of ECMs, and then you can designate one or two ECMs to be one or two or more, I guess, to be designated as ESAs. So this is again a power purchase agreement structured within an ESPC. For most for like all practical purposes, it feels and sounds like an ESPC, but there are some minor things that are happening in the background. So you select this as an ESA, and then the other thing that you have to do is go to Schedule 2A, and then you have to designate at least one of these ECMs to be an ESAs. So that column C that you was an NA before, now it's getting populated. So the renewable energy measures, which is a PV system, is now you're trying to structure that as an ESA. So that's what it means. So what happens is now you have two different cash flows, one coming from your traditional ESPC ECMs and one coming from your ESA side of things. So the ESA ECM, let's go to ESA.
Okay.
So
Let me
this
make
is
that a little
where
bigger so you can see it. Okay.
Yeah, so this is where we're capturing the ESA side of things, right? So there's an ESA ECM, and then you're specifying the expected ESA price. In this case, it's 18 cents, and there is a guarantee associated with that ECM. This is a different guarantee than what you had on for the entire project. This is a separate, again, these are two separate cash flows. This has a guarantee of 95%, and you're saying this system degrades by 5% every year. And then this fair market value is basically what it's worth at the end of the 20-year term. These projects, ESA projects, can only go for 20 years. The traditional ESPC projects under IDIQ can be 25 years, but this is just for 20 years. So that's FMV. This is basically the salvage value of the system at the end of the 20 years. You're using the 18 cents, and this annual guaranteed annual production is basically you're getting the production numbers that you entered on Schedule 4, and then you apply the guarantee percentage, and then you get those numbers, and then you calculate the ESA payments, which is basically the 18 cents times the production, and then you get your ESA payments. And then there is this reserve account that you maintain. You have to maintain to account for this fair market value of the system at the end of the term. So that's the little, yeah, we can get into that if that's something of interest, but that's how it's structured. That ESA payments that you see for year 165,494 is the one that gets carried over to other Schedule 1, where Schedule 1EE. So the 165,495 is year 1 payment. Again, that entire stream is coming from the ESA side of things. And then you have your traditional ESPC project which is that other payment stream shown in column H. So those two get added up, and that forms the total payments for this entire project.
Right. And in this case, our ESPC is kind of small, so it's only 9 years. And then the ESA goes 20. But there are cases where the, ESPC might be bigger and go
25.
24, 25 years. Right. All right. Let me show briefly one more option that we like to show for the template. And that is if you have a direct funded project that you want to track in eProject Builder, you can also use the eProject Builder template for that. Let me open that up. All right. Let me know if you are seeing something different. Are you seeing the direct funded now on screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So I'll show you that this was not magic. Well, it's sort of magic, the magic itself. All right, so if I have this set as let's fix that, guaranteed savings, the template has its regular fields. This one's kind of a little more blank. But if I want to do direct funded, this, by the way, is the non-calculating template. Of course, you don't need the amortization calculations if you're doing a direct funded project that is 100% cash. So we do recommend that you use the non-calculating version of the template. So nothing's calculated. Everything is filled in manually that can be. And some fields that have to do with financing just go away. They get blanked out. So all the fields about, interest rate and financing and things like that are just automatically blanked out. So you can fill in what you can. And then you still can fill out Schedule 2A, for your costs. And if there are any performance period costs, you can put that in Schedule 3 and then Schedule 4 your annual savings. And I think we do have a newer version or a version of the template where you can actually enable calculation of Schedule 1, but on the calculating template, but there's generally no reason to, right? It's just 100% cash. So it lets you capture that in eProject Builder as well. All right, so we're going to go back to our demo. I guess I'll stop and see if anyone has questions, but we're going to show the M&V functionality now. I'm going to log out and log back in just in case. Any questions at this point? I'm going to delete my browsing data there. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to log back in. And I'm going to get my password. I'm going to take a second to send me the verification email. There we go. All right, and if you're logging in multiple times or anything like that, make sure you just get the latest one so you don't get frustrated with pasting in the wrong verification code. Okay, great. So I'm going to showcase how the M&V module works. So we're going to go to the portfolio page here, and I'm going to use a project that I've used as a demo in the past, or just one that I've been kind of testing around with. So this one here, once a project has been approved in the ePB system, this M&V link in the left-hand panel, lower left-hand panel, shows up, and you can click it there. If you can see my little hand arrow in the left, or you can just click it here in the middle and next steps. Now, this is a test project that I've added multiple years of M&V data in already, so just so I can demonstrate. But the first time you come into a project, you're the ESCO or other kind of contractor, what you'll want to do is download the M&V upload template. And I'll show you what that looks like. We're going to download a single year template. And we're going to save it in my folder. Okay. Save it in my little advanced webinar folder. All right. So I need to show you what this looks like because it's a little different from the project template. And that is because when you are in a particular project and you download its M&V template, it is custom for this particular project because it retains some information that's specific to this project. So when you upload your M&V data, you know it's going to the right project. So basically, this M&V upload template, in fact, I'll show you what it looks like in the folder when I downloaded it. It's highlighted here. Hopefully it's not too small, but you can see that it's 5096, and it even gives the date I downloaded. So that's the project number, the ePB automatically assigned project number. So if I want to upload an M&V template to my project, I can only upload this one for project 5096. And it just comes pre-populated with some of the information: who was the project initiator, who was the project builder, and then there's a spot to fill in your other contact information if you care to track it. There's a third-party verifier, etc. The other things that are filled in automatically are any user-assigned project ID, which is a field in the eProject Builder template, the automatically assigned eProject Builder number, and then what the project name is. So this helps you identify if you're passing around, an M&V template and people are filling in data, you'll always know which one this is. And then for some reason, this is a bug. This should not actually be filled with a date here. This M&V report submitted date. So we're working on fixing that. But you can see here that there are a couple fields that are red text with an asterisk, and they are required for you to upload the template. Number one is what performance year are you entering data for? So it's got a drop down and it lists however many years available. This goes up to 25 years. You can enter a report for your post-installation verification. So when you choose that, it does something a little different. So this field here, row 22, changes to your verify the implementation period cost savings. So if you are tracking the cost savings you got during the implementation period, maybe that was part of your guarantee, you can put it here and that'll, show up in the system for your project. There are other fields that you will find very useful. What's the current, the due date of the current report? What was the project acceptance date? So the very first time you upload an M&V report, and if you fill this project acceptance date in, I can't remember, let's just say 222022, just make up a number here. This will be the permanent project acceptance date for your project. So the very first M&V template you fill out and upload will take this project acceptance date. Is there a third-party verification happening? Now, this is a really cool field. This is the one that generates automatic emails. So if you fill in the next year M&V report due date, let's say our current year, let's see, what are we? We're let's say today's the date, 2025, just making up numbers here again. Next year, it's going to be due on 5/20/2026. Now, if I upload this to my project, it's going to ping me by email, I believe 2 months before that M&V report due date is due. And then again, 2 weeks before it says, hey, you have an M&V report due. So this is a really cool and very useful field that's going to ping both the project initiator and the ESCO when the M&V report is due. There's several tabs here. The eProject Express M&V data template is just one simple page, but for eProject Builder, we have all this identifying data. Then we have the verified savings by ECM. You also have a chance to update the baseline. If you need to adjust the baseline, you can, look back and see what you entered for your original baseline. You can adjust those as you need to. And then you enter your annual verified energy savings in units and dollar amounts, the dollar equivalents subject to the utility rate. And then you'll have it'll again calculate this. So this verified savings tab is very much like Schedule 4. It's just verifying rather than the estimated savings. There are also some other fields here that are really pretty specific for federal projects because they wanted to document things for when they got audited. So if there's, commissioning, retro-commissioning being performed, if there's operations, things like that, they can document that with each ECM in each annual M&V report. If the M&V option has changed, maybe you're going to be doing option C or B early on, and then later you're going to do option A, you can update that as well. There's also a tab for verified GHG savings. We didn't really cover that in this webinar so much. There's separate trainings on that through FEMP. If there are any savings impacts, positive or negative, you can explain them here. Was there some, terrible thing that happened and we didn't make our savings, or did something amazing happen and we had made incredibly more savings? And then there's a space to fill it in. Again, this is mostly federal IDIQ program. They wanted to track, lost cost savings due to the ESCO, due to the impact, et cetera. And then finally, there's a tab for witnessing. If the customer's doing witnessing, and did they self-witness or virtual witness, and then a space for notes. So it's really pretty straightforward in a lot of ways. And again, it doesn't capture all the engineering calculations and things that happen for M&V, but it captures sort of a good summary of the M&V. So I'm going to show you. So here's a project. So once you fill in an M&V template, you can simply upload your M&V data from template. And I'll just go ahead. Let's see. This is 5096. Let's see if I have one. I'm going to upload a template and let's see. It always forgets where I've uploaded from before somehow. Oops. All right, hold on. Sorry about that. There we go. Let's see, and this is project 5096. Oh yes, I do have some templates here. So I see here I can upload my year 3 template again, so I'll just go ahead and do that. And if I already have year 3 in there, it's in pending status, so I can override it. I maybe went back and changed some things to my year 3 M&V template, and now I want to re-upload it, so I can upload it. And then I can view my M&V data online through a bunch of user interface fields. I can look at the verified savings, but the easier way to do it really is to get an annual M&V report. So I go back to the M&V summary page, which I can always get to by clicking this link on the left or going to my dashboard and clicking M&V. And so I can just, on the left-hand panel here, action, I click the 3 dots and I can export an M&V report. I can also export a cumulative report. And it's going to show that cumulative result. And this is a pretty useful thing for sharing with a customer or sharing with team members, etc. It's basically a snapshot of what's going on with your project with M&V. And what's one thing I'll point out here is the status column here on the right. We can show that very much like project statuses, we can have approved and pending statuses for M&V. So it's very similar to project. And we are just about out of time.
Yeah.
We didn't really get to the analysis and reporting feature, but I just want to see if anyone has any questions at this point. I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
that-
that we covered this in detail.
Right, there's a question was, how does this tool compare contrast to Energy Star Portfolio Manager project tracking?
Right.
So I can take that. Again, the main purpose of EPB is to document the projects, right? That's what we are tracking, projects, and then the component ECMs. Yeah, we are not looking at the building performance. The buildings are part of projects, but we are not looking at how those buildings are performing. So that's the major distinction. Energy Star Portfolio Manager is basically telling you how the building is performing year over year by looking at the energy bills. But here we're looking at the projects. That's the major distinction.
Right. While we're here, let's go to the ECM benchmarking tool. We can do a real quick demo of that. And by the way, you don't need to be logged into the system to use this tool. You can, in fact,
Yeah,
log out.
please interrupt us if you have any questions. I know
Right.
I'm here, but yeah.
So I've now logged out and I'm going to this project statistics. There's a historic project statistics tool, which has some pretty old data that might still be of interest, but the ECM price benchmarking tool is much more current. Very easy to use. You click start a new benchmark and it opens up. And then we enter some pretty basic information. So test project, and then what year the project is going to be awarded. Let's say it's this year, 2025. You don't need to fill this in, but we'll call it test facilitator. And then ECM type, we get boiler, BAS, chillers, lighting, water. Which one do you want to do, Shankar?
Lighting.
Lighting, okay. All right.
And 3 million.
Oops. All right, so let's
And
say we have a 3 million ECM.
4 million in
4 million
800,
kilowatt, okay. Great. And what state?
So California, why not?
All right. Okay, great. So it's simple. What's the offered price? What are the annual savings being estimated? And we generate the benchmark. And it's kind of cool. You get this benchmark results over here that captures what you entered. Right here, you get what would be the expected price, 8,029,000. And it looks like your implementation price, the ECM offer price, is actually lower than what would be expected. So you're getting a good deal, or maybe you should be suspicious because it's too good of a deal. And that's it. And then you can download, this as a PNG, a JPEG, a PDF. You could download this as well. And if you want to start a new benchmark, you just click the back button. Sorry we didn't get to the analysis and reporting feature. If folks want some assistance with that, we do have a training video on that, and we can give you some guidance on that as well. So I'll just go ahead and conclude that. Just new things that recently happened where we made the calculations better accommodate preliminary assessment scenarios. So the model didn't break if you were out of the 25-year scope while you were trying different scenarios. We are in the process of updating the template to enable degradation of savings of DG and energy measures. We are also doing some updates for the federal ESA projects. And we're also doing something, we're going to be adding a feature that detects if when you upload the template, certain data are missing or look out of whack, and just give you a warning, like, this looks a little weird, do you want to fix it? So that's in process as well. And with that, I will conclude and let you know that you can always reach out to us for technical support. The best email for that is epb-support@lbl.gov. And the website has a lot of resources on the help page, etc. All right. Thank you all for being on this webinar. Hope it was useful. And we will these will be posted soon on the eProject Builder help page. So look for those in the future.